other people as the weekend progresses. So, how many of you, like, your list is pretty long when you look at it right now? Is this pretty long? Yeah, so you look at this list is pretty long. And all of you by now should be holding 4 different objects, right? 3 or 4 different objects. Now, there are lots of voices trying to find that, and they're not all bad, right? If you look at your list, it's like, oh, probably most of these things, like, they're pretty good things. But as you're probably experiencing, it's pretty hard to hang on to all of them at the same time, isn't it? As you're walking to the last place, you feel like it's hard to hold on to these things. I want you to take a look again, just look back and wherever you wrote down your voices that are currently trying to define you, take a look at these again. These come most likely from important parts, important things in your life, important relationships in your life, important aspects of your life. They're not easy to just sort of like say, well, I'm just going to let them go just like that. As you heard from Sivak's story, it was pretty difficult. From this story, it sounded pretty difficult when circumstances took away some of these expectations. I know it was difficult for me when I graduated and I was unemployed and so disillusioned. All of my friends, most of whom did not do as well at school as I did, all got into grad school and got jobs except for me. I went home. My parents, I had 2 working parents. My grandparents were drawing Social Security, and my sister was in high school who had a summer job, and so I was the only, like, completely wage earning person in the family. That was really disillusioning for me. But so it's not easy to lay them aside, but what I'm going to ask you to do is all these things, these voices for your life, I'm asking you to lay down all those expectations for just 24 hours. Okay? Just the next 24 hours. I'm going to ask you to release your commitment to these voices. Just for one day, we're going to help you return to these voices later on in the weekend. I'm going to invite the worship team for just another time of worship. And here's what I'd like for you to do during the worship song as we begin singing worship. I would like for you to consciously look at this list and look at each of the objects. Look at UT and what UT expects of you. And look at your family, that tree, and what your family expects. And look at the world, what all the expectations of the world. And even look at the mirror, your expectations of yourself. I'm going to ask of you to lay those aside just for 24 hours. And as a symbol of doing as a symbol of doing that, I'd like for you to go and if you would bring those, if you would just go, move to the sides of the room and just lay down all your objects, just over by the walls on one side or the other. You don't have to do it right now, but as we stand to worship, during the first worship song, if you just consciously, before God, say, I'm willing to lay these expectations aside and just say that I don't owe anything to these expectations just for the next day, so that tomorrow I can just ask Jesus, how will you define me? So I know that this is we're asking you to symbolically do this to clear the slate, so to speak, to listen to Jesus, and to read to a symbol of saying, that what you have to say, Jesus, to me about who I am is more important than the voices of my family. It's more important than the voice of my school. It's more important than the voice of the world out there. It is actually even more important than how I define myself, is how you define me. So I'd like to invite you to do that, and then the worship team is going to lead us in worship, and then you'll have a chance to talk about some of your voices with your family.